Hey fam, what's up? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. I am so excited for this video. I just got back from Iceland and this is the first video I'm filming since I've been back, so I just feel so excited and happy to be back talking about what we love the most, which is makeup, beauty, funness. So today we're going to be comparing two palettes. As I'm sure most of you know already, Huda Beauty has launched a remastered version of her iconic rose gold textured eyeshadow palette, which is this one here. I have the original. I bought this when it came out and I was so hype over it. I actually really loved it. Despite I think a lot of people didn't love it, I really liked it. And she has since remastered it. This is the new version here. Beautiful packaging. I love how it looks. I love the glowiness of it. It kind of like highlights when you move it around. The packaging has changed. It comes with a mirror. You can see the shadows just, they look different. Everything's very different. They've been retextured. There's some new shades added. There's some shades taken away. So today we're going to compare it to the original textured eyeshadow palette, which is no longer available. This is like the replacement for it. It is for sale now. I do believe it's out of stock on the website, but it costs $65, which I will say I'm happy that the price did not go up because the original was $65 as well. And this one didn't have a mirror and the packaging was a little cheaper. So it's the same price, but just new and improved packaging, which I actually really like. But the shades themselves have changed. There's some repeats, but I do believe it's new formula and they don't look quite as textury as they did in the first one, which is what I really liked about them. I kind of liked the chunkier formula. So today we're going to create an eye look. We're going to try to do the same look using both palettes. So the new palette on one eye and the older palette on the other eye, and see what we think. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started. I do just want to say really quickly, I never say this and I know it's probably quite annoying to hear it in every video from every YouTuber, but please check and see if your notifications are turned on. My views have gone down like crazy. Everyone's telling me that my videos do not pop up in their subscription box. They never get notifications. So make sure your little subscription bell is turned on, your little notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed, of course, but make sure that notification bell is turned on so you know when I put up a new video. If you're not following my Snapchat or my Instagram or my Twitter, that would be an amazing idea because I do let you guys know every time I have a new video up, and I do put up videos quite frequently. So if you're missing them and just never seeing videos from me, something's not right. And of course it could be YouTube's fault, but let's do all that we can to make sure we keep hanging out and having fun. Turn on your notifications, subscribe to my channel, follow my social media, and of course, if you're watching this, please give me a thumbs up. My thumb rating is always way lower than the amount of views I actually get. And I'm like, that's so crazy. So please just hit the thumbs up if you enjoy this video. You can wait till the end, and if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. That's fine. That is your choice. You have a right to either like it or dislike it, but you know, either or would be great. A little engagement never hurt anyone. So now that your notifications are turned on, let's get started. So real quick before we get started, I want to tell you guys a few facts about the new eyeshadow palette. All the information you need to know on it. I have my notes right here. So as I said before, this is available now. I do believe it's out of stock at Sephora.com, but it's going to be back in stock soon. This will be for sale in store on July 20th. So 7/20, you're gonna wanna go ahead and check your local stores if you're waiting for that moment. That's when it will be available in store. Now, about the shadows themselves, the formula has changed. They're meant to be creamier, a smoother texture, very, very buttery. The colors are supposed to be more intense, and the formula is still talc free, just like the original. It's also free of parabens and it's free of sulfates. I believe the original palette was only free of phthalates and parabens. I do think it had sulfates, but I could be wrong. When I was looking online, that's pretty much the information that I found. So in here they have 8 matte eyeshadows. We have 8 melted metals. These up here. There's 1 pressed pearl, and then there's also 1 black. They consider this a different formula. I don't know that it is, but they list this as like a separate eyeshadow from all the rest because it's a black shadow that you can use either wet or dry. So that's kind of handy. The original palette had 10 mattes, 2 pressed pearl shadows, and 6 melted metallic shadows. So they did change the variation of shadows a little bit. I'm really excited for this video because like I said, I really enjoyed the original palette, but I know a lot of people didn't actually. So I'm excited to see how well it performs, if it performs better. So just real quick, I wanted us to kind of compare both the palettes here. I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like there's a matte creamy shade. Is it called Bay? I believe that is missing from the new formula or the new palette. For the most part, they look pretty similar. There's just a few shades that are either gone or have been altered in tone or in texture. Just first impressions looking at the two, it's interesting to see how much more like chunkier and textured the original Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette is compared to the new version. It looks so smooth and buttery. I tend to like chunkier shadows though, so I just prep my lid with a bit of concealer and some setting powder, which is how I normally do it. So I'm gonna use the same brush on each eye so it's completely fair. I'm just gonna clean it off with my little, you know, brush. Oh, don't start mowing now. Are you kidding? I'm gonna use the same brush. I just have my little Cinema Secrets brush cleanser that I poured into this bottle. So it cleans it, but it dries it really quickly too, so that should be good. So usually I wanna start with like a shade like Bay to prep all over my lid, but there is not a shade like Bay in the new palette at all. So far, that is a big downside to me. It seems like the only highlight or just light, fair, creamy shade that you could use has shimmer in it. Let's first start with Sandalwood, because this shade is in both palettes. This is the original palette here, and I'm just gonna start buffing that into my crease with my Sigma E40 brush. You guys let me know how you felt about the original Rose Gold palette from Huda Beauty. Did you have many problems with it, or what did you think of the texture and the formula and the longevity of the shadows? I know that I personally always really liked it, but I know that I was part of a small amount of people who I felt like really liked it. So far, again, the original palette is going on fine. Now we're gonna pop into the Remastered. Oh, this one I feel like definitely had a lot more kickback, a lot more shadow came off. It could be because it's so soft and blendable, but this one definitely had a lot more fallout upon first, you know, swirl in the palette. I'll have to pay attention now to how I'm picking up the shadow in both palettes, because I don't think I saw any fallout in the original, but I was not paying attention closely to how I was picking up the shadow, so I have to make sure I'm doing it the same way. So just blending this in the crease the same way we did the first one. It's blending beautifully. It looks so soft on the eye. Definitely did not need a lot of shadow. I, in fact, probably picked up too much. I will say, though the original palette I thought blended fine, it does seem like this new one is blending a lot smoother. I'm just trying to observe what shades are in both of the palettes. There's a lot that are not in here. This is the E25 from Sigma. I'm gonna jump into henna, and I'm gonna work henna on the inner half and blend that into the center, meeting the Sandalwood shade we have. And again, this is the original palette. Now jumping into the new henna shadow. Yeah, this one definitely just instantly, the minute you hit the shadow, has more fallout for sure. Oh, that does seem more pigmented, like right off the bat, because I hardly could take any because I didn't want to have too much fallout. And it's like, seems to be carrying like quite a far amount, you know, away. Just barely tapping into that palette because I do not need a lot. That's what I'm learning anyway. Definitely appears to be more rich and vivid. I much prefer that. Do you see how like just vivid it is? I know I keep using that word. It's just very just intense. Okay, so again, looking for shades that are in both. I think we're next gonna jump just right into Maneater. Going down the row here, but these seem to have been left alone. This whole row seems to be the same. And I'm gonna run Maneater through the crease of my eye here. So this is my third time dipping into Maneater in the original palette because I can't quite get it to show up. So I'm hoping it's much more pigmented in the new one. Really excited to see if it is, because it's actually not showing up a great deal. It's there, but I definitely had to go into it a few times. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Maneater in the new palette. See if it's more pigmented. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely more pigmented upon first application than the original Maneater. I feel like a saucy little biatch when I use black shadow. So let's take Black Truffle in the old palette. Now, like I was saying earlier, they say in the new palette you can use it wet or dry. I looked everywhere online and I could not find anything that says that you could do that with the original Black Truffle eyeshadow. Don't worry, we're gonna try it with both and see how it does, but I did not find anything that said you can use the older Black Truffle wet as like eyeliner, so I'm intrigued. This is the Sigma E41 Duo Fiber brush. I love this black just fine. You know, I'm very passionate about my black eyeshadows, and I think this one's been very blendable in the old palette so far. It's pigmented, but it's not too black, like you can still kind of manipulate it and work it in a bit. Now jumping into the new Black Truffle. I'll do the same thing here. That looks definitely more pigmented upon first application. Very, very deep. Yeah, like, oh wow, I can't believe just that one little brush full got me all this, because I barely tap into my black shadows because it's easier, obviously, to build up the color instead of trying to take it away. I definitely prefer the new black shadow. It just blended beautifully. It's very, very smooth. I'm actually going to take a bit of Cocoa. This is the new palette, and I'm going to run Cocoa a bit over that black just to help smooth everything over. Sometimes it's really fun to layer over a black shadow because you kind of get the effect of the black, but it blends it a little bit easier if you worry black shadow will be too streaky on you. So next we're going to jump into the more glimmery eyeshadows. I'm going to use Fling, and I'm going to use Rose Gold. And those are both in the original too. They're in the exact same spots you can see, but they're definitely less textured in the new palette. So I'm going to wet my medium sweeper E54 brush from Sigma with a little setting spray. Now these they recommend you use with your fingers, but I like to use a brush. I don't think I'm gonna use concealer first. I was gonna, and now I don't think I will. I think I'll just jump into Fling, and I'm gonna use Fling on the outer half. It's very smooth, not very chunky at all. It's just very, very creamy. Even just looking at it, it looks so smooth. I love how like sleek that looks. It just looks like wet. It's beautiful. And now let's jump into the original Fling and do the same thing. Oh wow, that one almost looks brighter, doesn't it? It has like a bit more of a glow, I feel like. I'm gonna have to get it on the whole lid and then see. I could be wrong, but to me it looks a bit brighter. I actually think I prefer the original Flirt shadow. It's so bright. This one's definitely a lot more muted than this one. Now we're going to jump into the Rose Gold shade in the new palette. I'm going to add that on the inner half and just bring it across, mirroring that into Flirt. It doesn't want to grab to the brush really easily, and I know you're supposed to use your fingers, but I have such a hard time using my fingers with these shadows. I'm trying. Definitely, yeah, applies better with your fingers, and that's what they say. I try to use a brush for it, but with your fingers, that just like, ooh, it just pops. It's so just electric. I really love it. So definitely, yeah, apply it with your fingers. That's what I should have done from the beginning. That is just amazing. I love that glow. Now I'm gonna do it the same way with the original palette. I'm gonna first use the kind of damp brush, and then I'll go on top of it with my finger. Now this one, of course, you can see is a lot chunkier than the new one. It also has a hard time grabbing the brush, but again, they were always meant to be used with your fingers, so that's not a bad thing. Let me go ahead and switch to my finger now. Much better with your finger. It's definitely not the same shade though. It's definitely not the same color. And it's much, much chunkier. I think I definitely prefer the new rose gold color. They're just two different colors, let's be honest though. Interesting. I think I definitely prefer the new one. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I just tight lined my eyes with some eyeliner. I used my Urban Decay, little black liner to save some time. So now let's move on to, I want to try this eyeliner wet. I want to try the old one wet and the new one wet. The black truffle here, because as I was saying, it says in the new one you can use it wet or dry, but it does not say that about the old one, so I don't really expect that to work, but I want to try it. So I'm taking my Line Perfector E68 brush, and let's do the old palette first. Now, of course, the reason why you might not be able to use the older one wet is because it might change the quality of the shadow. So I just kind of try to take it around the edges of the shadow, so I'm not going directly in the middle of it so I don't ruin it. And now I'm going to just kind of stamp this along my eye as our eyeliner. It's going on fine for sure. And now I'm taking the new black truffle shadow. Honestly, they both performed great. I don't see a huge difference between either of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply some mascara, some lashes, finish off my face, and then we'll come back to kind of blend out our lower lash line and talk about my final thoughts on both of the palettes. Okay, so I finished off the face. I threw on some lashes and my lip color. Let's finish off the eyes. All I have to do is smudge a little bit of shadow into my lower lash line. So let's do that. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and use Cocoa. Just a nice brown. So I'm gonna grab Cocoa. This is from the newer palette. I'm gonna run that along there. I can't tell you how good it feels to have a full face of makeup on, because when I was in Iceland, there was like no point. Our tours every day, it wasn't just like a tour. Like we didn't just get on a bus and then hop out and see something and then hop back in. We had to like physically hike and bike and run and climb to every location we went. And by like the second or third day, I was like, F it. I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm not wearing a bra, like none of that. I was like, I'm done. It was so hard to take cute pictures, but thank you guys so much for all your support on my Instagram. They definitely were like the best pictures I've ever taken, and that was all thanks to the other influencers who were on the trip who brought like really fancy cameras and were kind enough to take my photos because I just had like my iPhone. So thank you guys who left such sweet comments on my photos. So what I'm gonna use for highlighter is actually Moon Dust in this palette. It's not in the older palette, so I'm just gonna use the newer palette because it said that you could use that as a highlighter. So I'm going to take Moon Dust with my FO3 highlighter brush. Ooh, that's quite a glow. Look at that, meow. It's definitely picking up the texture of my skin, so I probably wouldn't use this too much as a highlighter personally, but if you have really smooth skin, you might really like this glow. Let's go down the nose as well. And then I'm also gonna take a bit of that on the inner corners. And that is it for this makeup look, you guys. Let's talk about my final thoughts. So as you can see, the shades definitely vary. Even though, for example, the rose gold shade, which is this main bright one I have on the inner parts of my lids, you can see that even though they're both the rose gold shade, they're both different. The newer rose gold is much more berry toned almost. Not even like super rose gold. It's definitely more berry-ish. And it's such a finer, like, it's a finer, smooth, buttery like top coat. It's not as gritty and textured as the original. So if you have the original palette and you do not use a bunch of the shimmers, this is the original, I don't think you would need to buy the new one because the mattes are almost the same. A few vary, but they are almost the same. I think the only reason why you would want to buy the new one if you have the original is if you're really into the shimmery, glimmery, you know, fancy shades. They are different. The formula is amazing. They are so buttery smooth. I love how fine the texture is. It's just extremely finely milled. I love the new palette. I really, really do. But with saying that, I also loved the original palette. I don't think there was anything wrong with the original palette. The shimmery shades, of course, are of a kind of a more intense texture. It's a little more thick. I would say maybe if you have hooded lids or if you have a more textured skin tone or lid, the newer one will go on you a lot nicer just because the glitters are not like chunky and super glittery. They're just a really fine metallic. They're beautiful. I definitely love the new one, but I loved the original one too. It's definitely different. Don't buy it expecting to get the same palette as the original because they are so different in tone and texture. I do think the new one blended beautifully, a lot easier than the old one. But again, I liked the old one. I didn't see anything wrong with it to begin with. So I think it's really going to be up to you guys whether you need the new one or not. I think the only reason why I would say yes, get the new one if you already have the old one is if you really wanted the glittery shades because they are beautiful and they are such a beautiful dreamy texture. I think they're lovely. So let me know your guys' thoughts. What did you grab or what did you think from my video? Any points you took away that you think will determine your decision? And will you be picking up the new one? I'd love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching today. For a list of everything else I have on my face, like my foundation, my blush, my lip color, check the bottom links down below. I will link everything for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm so happy to be back and I'm just happy to like have this connection again. I missed it so much. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for watching and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!